Good afternoon. Today we are going to be going over the pre-showing checklist. So this is after you set an appointment to meet with a buyer and you're getting ready to go on this appointment, what we do in preparation. So of course you have our buyer folder along with our buyer's guide. So that's all the physical print marketing material that I'll provide you guys. And then we have this following sheets: the customer MLS sheet, broker synopsis, comparable sales, seller's disclosure, HOA disclosure, and then the Realist form, as well as the as-is contract. And this is up to your discretion if you want to include the buyer-broker agreement in here as well. So the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to go in my browser and I'm going to pull up my subject property. So let's use Catherine's most recent listing at Meadow Point. So I'm going to click on this blue link here. So we're going to have our subject property. So I'm going to click on print customer full. If you're missing that option, you can click here under more and you'll see all the different options. Then I'll hit the print button on the bottom on the right hand page, hit print. That comes up. I'm going to print that, and then while I'm in here, I'm also going to hit the broker synopsis. I'm going to print this as well. Why do we do it this way? Because we want to give the customer synopsis, and we want to keep the broker synopsis for ourselves. What's the difference? The broker synopsis has the other agent's information on there, as well as other confidential information that the realtor may want to let you know about. So here is confidential information like what's the remaining balance left on the solar panels is $47,041, things like that. So that knocks out our first couple, right? We're done with the customer sheet, we're done with the broker synopsis, and then we have the buyer's guide. And then next we're going to pull the comps. The way I like to pull the comps, and don't spend a crazy amount of time on this, especially if you have multiple showings and multiple clients in the same day. I'll highlight the address, I'll copy it, then I'll go under search criteria in this upper right hand corner. I'll remove the street number, and I'm going to paste my address here in the search bar. And you have to click on did you mean, and you have to select the address, and then now this thing is going to pull up everything within a quarter mile of this property. So right now we only have the active box checked. We need to check sold. So the other things come up. I have 19 options, which is quite a lot. So I'm going to make some adjustments. I'm going to want to pull everything that's 3 to 4 bedrooms, maybe more than 2 bathrooms. Since our subject property is 1,900 square foot and change, I'll only want to put things that are 1,600 square feet to maybe 2,400 square feet. So we've eliminated a couple options. I'm happy with what we have here. Then I'm going to hit result. And then I'm going to hit all to check all these boxes. I always like to make sure there's not some crazy outlier, like, everything in this neighborhood has kind of sold for 300 to 400. If I see something crazy for like 600 or 200,000, I just want to make sure those are not included. So I'm going to hit the map view, and I'm just going to kind of scroll through and make sure there's no crazy outliers. And this property's on the market for $350. Of course, the buyers are going to be able to see, hey, there's another property that sold for $295. Like, why is that one so much cheaper? So I'm going to want to do some basic level of homework, just kind of see why. So this property, if we click on the pictures, you can see that it's got carpet in the main living space. It's got cheap laminate countertops. They're made out of wood, guys, by the way. It's just a wood veneer on the top. And then we have 36-inch cabinets. Then we have these simple black appliances, carpet everywhere. The lawn's looking a little rough. So just a really simple builder-grade house. That's sold for $295, and it's even got one single sink in the primary bathroom. So that one sold for $295. And then you compare it to our subject property here, you can notice some big differences. Number one, the property is 2 stories, so maybe some people might prefer that. This used to be the former model home, so it's got things like the 9-foot doors, beautiful porcelain tile that looks like wood. It's got the glass insert on the front door, upgraded hardware in the bathrooms, right? You got dependent lighting, you got the quartz countertops, that's a stone. We have the stainless steel appliances. We even have a barn door for the pantry, right? Even the wood stairwell has been upgraded with the see-through kind of wooden railing. And it's just much more bigger and open. And you can even see the built-in speakers on the ceiling. We never want to give the buyer an exact number and back ourselves into the corner. So we always give them a range. So now we have all our properties selected. Again, to select them all, once you're happy with all these comps, you can select all. If you ever want to throw out a comp because you feel like it's an outlier, then simply click on the house, uncheck a box, and now we're down to 13. But for this example, we are going to include this comp. We have 14 active comps selected, which is what's on the market. That's your competition or choices for the buyer. And of course, what's sold. Then I'm going to go down to the bottom, which is says Quick CMA. I'm going to click on the Quick CMA. Now we have the 2 different types of categories, active and sold, and they're split accordingly. So I'll print both pages out, hit the print button, hit print, and I'm always going to highlight with a highlighter after I print it out with a yellow highlighter the subject property. So some major numbers here to note: 1968 square footage. So you can see there was actually a 1968 here that sold for $390. Or I'm sorry, it's currently listed for $390. And then there is an exact same floor plan here, also 1968. That's over $360. But this house does have solar panels, and that does actually hold the house back a bit because that adds to the debt load to the new potential buyer. So unless the solar panel is paid off, guys, it's almost always a negative on the house. I mean, it is our job to kind of spin it. So in this case, I learned that the regular electric bill is something like $250 to $300 a month, but with the panels, she was paying $50 to $100. So that's how I'm going to sell it, even though the panels have like around $250 a month payment. So you can highlight the comps that you think are the best. So in this case, looking at the comps, I would tell the buyer something like, I think the fair market value of the property is somewhere between $340 to $350. So just give them a rough range of numbers. Let's keep going down the list here. Now we have the comps. Now we pull the seller's disclosure. We're going to go back into our subject property there. I'm going to click on this blue link. And in this paper clip, we have a couple attachments. I'm going to click on both of these attachments one by one. Click on it, hit print. Click on this again, hit the seller's disclosure, and so I'm going to print both of these out. And then last, but certainly not least, probably one of the most important ones besides the comp is the Realist form. To get to the Realist form, I'm going to go back to my sheet here, and I'm going to hit Property Details. I'm going to click on this blue house. There's a lot of great information on this sheet that's going to just help build a better profile on the house and get some additional information. Seller's name is on here. Even kind of gives you a walkability score, another estimate of what they think the home is. Median price is in the neighborhood. That's going to give us details like the flood zone. It's going to give us detail like the school district, folio ID. This is information that we need on the contract. It's going to have the legal description. It's going to have that the property is currently homesteaded. They're getting a $50,000 exempt and the assessed value. Here it's also going to show what the property appraised for by the county assessor's office. So the county assessed value is always different than the market value. So the way that the taxes are calculated is that they assess value and then they multiply it by the millage rate that each county charges for the property. And then you can see the previous years, what they paid in taxes. But keep in mind, if somebody has a homestead tax exemption on the property, you'll see that maybe the assessed value doesn't go up as much every single year because the homestead caps the amount that the tax can go up per year. But if someone removes that homestead and all of a sudden, into 2024, the new owner may have a higher bill. So those are all maybe small intricacies you want to help your buyers realize. There's additional details here, like how many bedrooms and bathrooms are in the house, heated square footage, all that good stuff. There is an algorithm that the system uses. It's estimating this property to be around 349 right now and change. They give a raw range of 330 and change to about 367 with a 99% confidence score. So this is their estimate on the property's value. So it's our job to be the third set of eyes for the buyer, if you're representing the buyer, and point out things that add to the value of the home or detract away from the value. So at the end of the day, this is just an algorithm based off of this sold data. But if you go in a home and the carpet is completely trashed, and it's going to be $10,000 to repair all the flooring or replace it, then we have to make adjustments. And vice versa, if something extra has been added to the house, for example, on 594 Meadow Point, there has been a white vinyl fence that's been installed in the house. Those are all things that add value. MLS history information is here. Sales history is here. The one I like to always look at the most is the mortgage history. I can see how much money she borrowed back in 2020 to purchase the home. Was an FHA loan. You even see that there's a refinance here, and that she has 3.125% interest rate. In this case, it's even assumable, so that's a big selling point on the house. And the very, very bottom, you'll see the dimensions of the lot. So I can see here there's 50 feet on Meadow Point Drive, and the property is 110 feet long. So most of the time we are not going to have a survey. So this is going to just give you a little cheat sheet to talk knowledgeably about the property. When you're ready, hit the print button here, hit quick print, and this is going to actually make it as a PDF to your computer. You never want to try to hit Control P for this page since it comes out all weird. And then you can see that this saves as a file to your computer. You open that file and then you hit print, and this will print out all 3 pages. So we're just about done with our preparation. The next thing I would print out 100% is the copy of the as-is contract. If you have a buyer who's interested in the property, it's definitely to your benefit to have a copy of the contract so you can go over in person versus over the phone, especially when you're in person with somebody. You can read their body language. Maybe they're more comfortable when asking you questions. So to find a copy of the as-is contract, I'm sure you all already know this. I like to go in .loop. It can be any loop. You can even create an empty loop. And I hit templates, Florida interactive forms, and in the search bar, I'll just put in as-is. And the first thing that pops up is the as-is contract. I don't pre-fill any information out, then I just hit File, Print. This comes up as a PDF, and then I'll hit the print button again here. and print it, and that's it. Big things to hit on, probably the biggest one is talking about the property inspection and the right to cancel, line number 260. I always like to tell the buyer, hey, this contract, it sounds like as is, but it's actually not. And we like to use this contract to best protect your rights as the buyer, because if you determine during the inspection period that the property is not acceptable to the buyer, you can actually terminate this contract for any reason at all while we're still under the inspection period. Another form you may also want to include is the exclusive buyer-broker agreement. However, in a separate video, we will talk about that. To wrap up this video, I do want to talk about what if you're showing multiple properties? Then how do you keep yourself organized? How do you determine the times that you want to go see the property? So I've kind of made up a couple addresses here, and I'll kind of start from scratch so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. So let's say you have these 3 properties, right, that they have requested to see, and you're meeting them at 1 p.m. tomorrow. Well, last thing you want to do is be driving to the west side of town and the east side and have to backtrack close to where the first property is. So there's a great tool that I like to use. It's a route planner. I just go to Google, I type in route planner. I'm a creature of habit. I like to use the one from MapQuest. I find that it's the easiest to use. So let's say the first property is 594 Meadow Point, right? In Haines City. And then let's say we're going to, let's say we're, just pretend like this is another property. And then let's say we need to go to the third property here. So I'm going to put in the addresses for all 3 different properties. And then this gives me a map view of where all the properties are located. The buyer might have said, send it to you in this order, but you'll see that, hey, if I'm going to go see A, I might as well just go knock out C right next to it, right? So not thing you want to do is like drive from A, go all the way down to C, and then have to drive back to C. That makes no sense. So this even allows you to rearrange the order of these things. So now I'm going to take C, since it's really close to A, and I'm going to drag it up. And so now I've changed the order I'm going to see the properties in. So now I know the distance of these properties. I can also start to plan accordingly. So if we go back to our sheet, I'll rearrange it for this purpose. I'm going to say, okay, perfect. Well, we're going to see Meadow Point. That's their favorite one. We're going to see it between 1 to 1:30 p.m. tomorrow. I always give myself 30 minutes at a showing. And I see subject property number, letter B here is very, very close. So maybe I only give myself 5 minutes to get to that property, 5 to 10 minutes. So I'll put 1:40 till 2:10 p.m. on this one. And then I can see, from here that it takes 38 minutes, right? So I'm going to put, 2:10 plus the 38 minutes. So let's just round it up. Let's just say if it takes 30 minutes, it's going to be 2:40, right? But in this case, it's 40 minutes, so I'm going to put 2:50. Then I'm going to put 2:50 to 3:15 p.m. Now I have a rough idea of what time I need to be at which property. Then here comes the easy part. I'll go back in the MLS, on my subject property, and I'll hit the showing time button here, which I'm sure you guys already know how to do. And I'll go on the calendar. Now you've done all your prep work. So 1 o'clock to 1:30. So let's just, for this example, it's already blocked up, and you hit 1 to 1:30, and you hit continue, request, and then you're all done. And then you can go to the next property, the same, so on and so forth. So while I hit the request showing button, I'll put requested, awaiting confirmation. And let's say I hit Lowe's, And then let's say this property is occupied. I'll even make it a little note, occupied. And then let's say I go to the next property. I'm just going to pull another random property. Let's say this is our second property. Then I'll hit the request showing button, so on and so forth. I'll hit my time button. But let's say this one's vacant and it's confirmed immediately. So I'll put vacant. Let's say they have a manual lockbox. I'll put manual combo for manual combo lockbox. And let's say the code is 2381. And then let's say there's a gate code. And then I'll put in the gate code #1234. So you get the point. I'll do the same thing with this property. And then if they confirmed it, I will put confirmed. And then let's say while we're requesting the showing for this, we've heard back on this property. And at this point, I'll go back and I'll put confirmed. It's on a Sentry key and it's occupied. And so this gives you guys a cheat sheet because on the day of the showing, all your mental energy should be focused on the buyer, right? Not trying to navigate. So this gives you a really, really easy cheat sheet on how to access the property, what kind of lockbox is it on. Sometimes agents even put lockbox on really weird, obscure locations. So let's say it's on the left side of the house on a hose bib. So now just makes your life a whole lot easier when you're out there in the fields. So that'll conclude our pre-list and pre-showing checklist on how to show properties and get ready for an appointment. If you have any questions, let me know. Hope you guys found this helpful. Thank you.